You're listening to the International Moving Podcast, your guide to moving to another country, brought to you by SDC International Shipping, LA's finest. An international move is exciting. It's a time to start over, establish a new business maybe, reestablish family ties, or retire where your budget will do more for you. Please enjoy today's episode, and if you have any questions about your international move, give us a call at 888-779-3962. That's 888-779-3962. All right, welcome back, everyone. This is Jim. I'm your host for the International Moving Podcast. This is the Monday edition. In case you don't know, we also have mini podcasts that are available throughout the week, and those are made by my friend Laura Lee. I hope you enjoy those. If you haven't listened to those yet, go ahead and check those out. Today I'm going to talk to you about the expat journey. There are more expats today than probably any other time in history. And if you think about it, just about all of us have an expat in our lineage somewhere in there. Matter of fact, the other day I was listening to I guess you call it a police officer, but for one of the American tribes. I don't know if it was the Cherokee tribe or another tribe, but he was in charge of investigating crime out on the reservation, and he was talking about the stories that his grandfather told him about when their people came up from the South. Now, I don't know exactly where he meant by the South. Maybe he was talking about Central America, South America, I'm not sure. But he was talking about the people that inhabited the United States before the tribes of today got here. And that's something you really don't hear very much about, and probably for good reason, because his grandfather told him stories that involved quite a bit of the supernatural. Giant men used to, according to the legend, occupy this country. Now, we're not talking about tens of millions of them, but tribes of them. And they were large enough where they said they were able to run with buffalo herds and keep up with them, and were extremely strong, according to the legends, and were identified. Not all of them were of extreme height. Now, he alluded to their height being somewhere around 15 feet tall on average, very thick, boned, and according to the legends, and they had 6 fingers and 6 toes. And as time went on, the other generations that fought allegedly with these people, beings, whatever they were, would greet them with their hand up in the air, and that was a show of how many fingers you had. Because as time went on, according to the legends, some of them were not exactly gigantic, and that's how they identified them, by the number of fingers. Anyway, you can do with that what you want. It was just an interesting interview that I heard. They were talking about everything from Native Americans having encounters with the creatures we know as Bigfoot and other supernatural things like that. I enjoy listening to those kind of podcasts late at night before I go to bed. It's a wonder I don't have problems with my sleep sometime. But anyway, getting back to us today, my family immigrated here, both sides, from Europe, from Italy to be more specific. One side immigrated here in the 1890s, early 1890s. My grandfather on my father's side was born on the boat coming over, so we had dual citizenship. And so everybody has adventurous individuals, adventurous families somewhere in their past, possibly the not too distant past, who decided that they were going to uproot and look for more and better opportunities in another country. Many, of course, came here to the United States, but people go all over. They really do. I mean, America, historically, of course, the Irish, the English were here before maybe some of the other groups, like the Italians, mainly came over, I think, between the late 1890s and the early 1900s. But yeah, you have adventurous people in your family, so maybe you have that in you as well. Maybe you've inherited that. Maybe there's something in you that thinks that life might be better in a different location. Maybe you have better professional opportunities there, maybe better educational opportunities there, or maybe even you can take advantage of a lower cost of living and enjoy a better lifestyle in your retirement years. There's a lot of different reasons why people relocate and go through that expat type of experience. And the nice thing about it today is it's much easier than it was in the past. It's not, you don't have to go through that harrowing journey that people always we see on TV. Of course, you see a bunch of people huddled up on a boat, and the winds and the rains and the sickness and all of that that they went through back then. It's much different, thank God, today. But moving abroad as an expat, it can be an exciting adventure no matter what era you're doing this in. And there's also challenges, maybe not quite as bad as in the past, but the process involves not just relocating your belongings, but also adapting to a new culture, navigating unfamiliar legal requirements, setting up home in a foreign country. And this is where specialized expat moving services come into play. So you can take SDC International Shipping as a great example of this. They understand the unique needs and concerns of expats going both ways. SDC moves individuals and families from the U.S. abroad, and they move families from abroad here to the U.S. And they have years of experience along with dedicated teams of professionals. So they're able to offer comprehensive expat moving services that are designed to make your transition as smooth and as stress-free as possible. So whether you're moving to Europe, Asia, Australia, or any other part of the world, SDC International Shipping is here to ensure that every aspect of your move is handled with care and precision. So let's talk a little bit about the expat services themselves. An expat services, plural, cater to the specific needs of the individuals and the family. So you may need certain things that another family wouldn't, and vice versa. And unlike regular moving services, expat moving services address the unique challenges that come with international relocation. So, what exactly do expat moving services involve? It all starts with the planning. And this means having a detailed pre move consultation so that they can understand the specific needs that you may have. Because every expat is different, every family is different, even if it's just a little bit. And it's important that whatever company that you use, that they understand your unique requirements, because that's going to be the first step in a successful move. Then we can move on to things like specialized packing, ensuring that all the items, including very delicate and possibly very valuable possessions, are securely packed and are readied for international transit, because that's going to be critical. And this brings a level of detail into play that not everybody is equipped to handle. So with SDC International Shipping, for example, they specialize in this so that we can make sure your belongings arrive safely in your new home, no matter how far your journey may be. Now, customs is another significant part of an expat moving service, because handling customs documentation and the regulations will avoid all the delays and complications that may occur at the border, and that's really essential for a smooth move. The last thing you want is for your belongings to be held up at customs because there's a paperwork error or something that was packed that wasn't supposed to be there, or there's something that is illegal. We talk about illegal, sometimes people think of things like fireworks or guns or something like that. But there's other little things, like, for example, I know just off the top of my head, in China, it's illegal to have anything that's made out of ivory. So imagine you have, let's say, I don't know, a little ivory figurine or ashtray or something like that that's very small, seemingly insignificant for you, or a piano with ivory keys. Then suddenly everything comes to a grinding halt at the border because that is not allowed into the country. And when you're working with professionals, they understand all of that. They understand the details that go with customs relative to the country you're going in. So, for example, if you're moving to Germany, you'll deal with SDC's expert in the country of Germany. With the UK, same thing. And that way, that person keeps up to date on all of the changes and all the regulations and all of the shifts. I know, for example, that moving to France in 2025 is going to be much more of a hassle than if you leave in 2024, because of all the new regulations that are being put into place. And that includes for Americans moving over to France. So it's not going to be such a immigration friendly type of situation as it was in the past in 2025. And you're not thinking about these things all the time. Maybe you're just thinking about your job or what your lifestyle will be like there. And you shouldn't have to. That's one of the reasons why you work with a company that specializes in expat type moves. And so also there's destination services. For example, maybe you need to have temporary storage in whatever country that you're moving to because maybe your final residence is not going to be ready yet and not all of your items will be able to be delivered to your residence because it might be too small or again it's just temporary. So there's other destination services too that go with that. But when it comes to expat moves, SDC International Shipping stands out in the field as one of the trusted companies because they're dedicated to making that relocation experience as seamless and as stress-free as possible. So SDC International Shipping has extensive experience in this area. Yes, we're not the only international moving company that's out there, but what sets us apart from the people that are more or less doing the same thing as us is that we specialize in household moves, in family moves. And so that's a little bit different than just packing and shipping. So comprehensive services are available specifically for expats, from things like detailed pre-move consultations to customized moving plans, professional packing and shipping, destination services. For example, maybe an elderly couple or individual, they don't want to go through the back-breaking work that goes with unpacking boxes, putting things away. In that case, yes, white glove service is available where you won't have to touch anything. Everything will be packed, everything will be shipped, everything will be unpacked, put away, reassembled at its destination, boxes removed, and you're all set. You can focus on the other aspects of your move. For example, maybe you're thinking about getting the things with utilities, internet access, things like that. So SDC International Shipping covers every aspect of the move. They provide end-to-end support so you can focus on the things that go into settling into a new home. So customized moving plans is a huge thing with a move, again, because every move is going to be a little bit different. Everything's going to start with an initial consultation. You can go to the website if you want. Maybe you only have one or two questions right now. So you go to the website and we have chat available. You can speak with an expert in the general moving process. Now, we may not have an expert available in chat. They can answer specific questions, let's say about relocating to Rome specifically. But then again, the people that work on our chat are experienced in international moves in general, know quite a bit. They know probably more than the average chat person would. In other words, they're not just taking your name and information, they're actually going to be working with you through the process. And then they actually get eyes on whatever the goods are that you're moving. And so, thanks to technology, if you're not local, let's say in LA or somewhere in California, San Francisco, where we happen to be, let's say you're in the Midwest or maybe in Chicago or wherever you happen to be, Texas, then we can use an app where you can show us if you have trouble, if you're not technical, they can show you how to install that on your phone. You can connect with a Zoom call and everything you can allow that person to see exactly what type of things that you maybe have a little more concern about, like a grandfather clock or a pool table or some precious items. And they can answer your questions. Do those things need custom packing? If so, how does that work? And so on. So, like I said, every move is a little bit different. Also, SDC has a global network of partners and affiliates in place, and this makes everything a lot easier because they're there to provide reliable moving services to destinations throughout the world. So, let's say you're relocating to Europe, Asia, Australia. SDC already has the resources and connections in place to make that move successful. So you get it all under one roof. You don't have to piecemeal things together. And I think the most important thing is customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction in a lot of things today, in a lot of transactions, it really has taken a hit in my opinion, when you compare it to customer satisfaction of, let's say, the past. I think one of the issues with customer satisfaction today is that people who are involved in sales or matching products with what people are looking for, a lot of times, if they don't have what a person needs, they'll try to match them with the closest thing to that. I'm not talking about international moving today. I'm just talking about just product purchases in general. And so I think a lot of the problems happen in the very beginning of the transaction. One of the things that just went through my mind is purchasing a car. So, for example, let's say you're trying to save some money, you have a budget, you're not going to buy a wrecker, but you're going to buy something that's decent, that has, a decent amount of miles on it, not anything over 100,000, even though cars can go for a lot longer than that today if they're taken care of. But you go and you speak to a salesperson and you kind of get a feel right away whether they're actually listening to what your needs are or if there's just certain vehicles that they have in mind that they're trying to sell you so that they can move on to the next person. And so when it comes back to now an international move, that initial consultation that you have, no matter who it's with, is going to go a long way towards determining what your experience is going to be like next. Are they really listening to what your requirements are, what you're trying to communicate to them? If they are, then that company, SDC or any other, can create a better experience for you because you get a personalized moving plan that addresses your specific needs. So, for example, sometimes people are going to pack certain things, and then there's other things that they're going to want professionally packed. That's fine. With SDC, you can do that. It's not all or nothing. Some people maybe are going to ship a vehicle in their container along with their household goods, and that's fine. You can do that too. Other times it doesn't make sense to move a vehicle because the cost and the import fees and taxes that go with doing that are prohibitive. And in certain countries, there are, there are certain regulations. Maybe you have to own the vehicle for at least 2 years, or it can only be so old, or there's a difference if it's an antique. And so at SDC, all of that can be covered. Also, again, the issue with temporary storage. Maybe you're going to need temporary storage both in the U.S. and maybe in the other country or just in one. Again, every situation can be different. So the professional packing services, they're designed to protect your belongings during the transit. And one of the things about insuring your belongings is that they're not going to insure your belongings unless they've been professionally packed. So maybe, of course, pillows, blankets, linens, things like that you can pack. But when it comes to an item that you're going to insure, you're going to have to prove that that item was packed professionally, packed correctly, and that any damage that happened to it wasn't a result of it being improperly packed. So those are some of the things that they'll discuss with you. And of course, the use of high quality materials, not skimping there. There's fragile items, there's bulky furniture, everything gets securely packed. And so for expats, this includes specialized packing for items that need that extra care due to their value or due to their being fragile. Next, we have air and ocean freight options. Ocean freight, I'm sure most of you have already seen it, the huge ships that have the multicolored red, blue, yellow containers on them, huge containers. And that's probably the most cost effective option with most locations. There's a little caveat there, I was told, with places like South America, where air and ocean freight might be very close to one another. But most of the places that people are relocating to, air freight, of course, is going to be much faster, but you're going to pay a higher premium price for that. So you can choose a combination if you want. It doesn't have to be either or, it could be both. And you can choose the best method based on your timeline and whatever type of budget that you have. Shipping containers are ideal because if you're transporting household goods and you're going to put a vehicle in there, the personal items, everything is protected in that steel container. So, and that means protected from everything you can imagine: inclement weather, theft, objects hitting one another, all the above, and some other things I haven't mentioned. And then navigating customs, of course, is one of the most challenging aspects of moving internationally in any era. and 2024 is no uh, is no different. So with SDC, you're going to be dealing with people who go through customs every day. So they're used to that. The people know one another. They'll handle your documentation, the procedures, making sure all your belongings are properly marked. And that way, everything goes smoothly. You don't have to worry about any delays. And of course, once you get to your destination, maybe you have some questions, or maybe something turns up that you didn't anticipate. I remember once in the not too distant past, somebody had an issue with their residence suddenly not being available. I don't know what happened, if a pipe broke or a leak happened, and so everything suddenly, people go into crisis mode when the unforeseen happens. But SDC was already set to help them navigate through that problem, find another place, get settled, and the team was able to temporarily store their items in one place until the issue with um, their apartment was fixed. So temporary storage, whatever you need, everything is available there. If it can happen, SDC has the experience over the last 15 or so years that they know what to do. So you just have that assurance that you have somebody who has your back through the entire process. And SDC wants to make sure the person that you're dealing with, that you're there on the other side, that everything turned out okay. They're going to follow up with you if there's any problems. You're not out of sight, out of mind. In other words, they'll be with you to make sure that you're happy, that everything worked properly, that there weren't any issues. If something does happen, people are people, then they'll work with you to make sure that things are ironed out and done properly. So I would say one of the things that expats do today, if you're not aware of this, you're just in the initial planning stages, there's a lot of groups online, like Facebook is an example, where you can visit different expat groups. And not just Facebook, but there's other social channels, Reddit also, where there's people that move from just about every country that you can imagine to just about every country that you can imagine. And they'll give you the kind of information that you just won't get in the average places to shop, places to get good deals on maybe things like insurance. These are people that already went through maybe the process of getting their health care situated in the new location. I know that when most people are going overseas, they buy international healthcare packages before they leave, and that covers them when they go from country to country. And that way they're covered in case things aren't exactly in place yet. That's called international healthcare. You can read about that. You can look it up online. You can talk to an insurance agent about that. They can set you up with that. That's always, of course, important to have. Other things like banking, you want to talk to people at your bank and let them know what you're doing. Maybe you have an account open here that you transfer money to to another bank over there. There's different ways to set it up. You can talk to a banker and they'll let you know about how that works and what your options are. Accountants is another thing when it comes to your taxes. A lot of people, when they move overseas, they don't give up their citizenship from their home country. A lot of times they just get a residency or working visa in the country that they're going to, but they're still going to pay taxes here in the United States. So you want to have that settled. I know people who haven't done that. They went through everything but the tax problem. They made assumptions about, I don't want to call it a tax problem, but it became a tax problem for them. If you do your research up front, it doesn't have to be a tax problem for you. You talk to an accountant that specializes in international taxes based on whatever country that you're moving to. You can find them online. And then you ask them, what are the implications? What do I do with the money that I earn in that other country? Do I pay taxes there? Do I pay taxes here? And they can set you up with that. The great thing is a lot of this can be handled online today. There are more options available than ever before. But this is one of the things that you at least need to be aware of. I know a few people, again, that didn't take the steps to do that. They made assumptions, and then it turned out that they didn't pay their taxes for 2 years. And so they had penalties that were awaiting for them back here, even though they were living most of the year in Mexico. So they had to take care of those issues. But if you ask those things in general with SDC, they can send you in the right direction. Of course, we don't have accountants on staff or attorneys that are designed to help you do that, but we'll point you in the right direction. So, all right, I think that does it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, again, you can reach out to us at www.sdcinternationalshipping.com. We have loads of information there. You can chat with us. You can give us a call, 877-339-0267. That number again is 877-339-0267. Or just come to the website and fill out the free form for your free quote, where you're moving from, where you're moving to. It's a 3-step form, and you can get information that way. This is Jim. Thanks so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next episode.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks for listening. Whether you're relocating within the country or moving to the other side of the world, we're here to help from start to finish. Connect with us today at 888-779-3962. That's 888-779-3962.